So anyway, and we have a great guest today you were mentioning.
Yeah, Deacon Matthew is calling from Western Carolina University to tell us about his new book about St. Francis de Sales and his spirituality.
Well, let's bring him on and
Let's do
have a
it.
chat. Hello, Deacon Matthew. How are you?
I'm doing great this morning. How are you, Bishop?
Doing just dandy. Great to have you with us on this, the lead up to the Catholic TV Telethon. I'm sure you'll be tuning in.
Oh, of course. It's been on my calendar for months.
Mine too. Hey, thank you so much. We appreciate you taking some time to talk to us. And what is it, in your estimation, about St. Francis de Sales that spoke to you and made you write this book, The Devout Life?
Well, for your viewers who might not be familiar with St. Francis de Sales and his seminal work, the introduction to the Devout Life, he's a patron saint of Catholic media, Catholic publishers, of writers, because he's so well known for his communication skills. And he really put them to good use when he wrote an introduction to the Devout Life, which is written as if it were a series of letters to one of his spiritual directees. And what struck me most about it when I first read through it on my own is how comprehensive and yet practical it is in terms of what it means to live the life of a Christian disciple. And that's something that we're desperately in need of today, more intentional discipleship on behalf of not just clergy, not just professional religious, but the lay person in the pews. And St. Francis wrote a wonderful resource for this, but he wrote it 400 years ago. And I wanted to bring his wisdom into the modern world, incorporating the teachings of the Second Vatican Council, cross-referencing it to our modern catechism, and just speaking to the reality that most American Catholics find themselves in today.
Good.
Wonderful. So as a little bit of a pre-taste for what's in the book, can you tell us about some of the simple ways suggested in this book that people can draw closer to Christ in small ways?
Yeah, for sure. Well, the first thing that St. Francis wants to get across is that living a devout life, or what we might call today living the life of intentional discipleship, truly is for everyone. And so it doesn't necessarily mean abandoning your career to go join a monastery or something like that. But so he directs us first to consider where we are, what our state in life is, what our particular vocation is, what are the duties and responsibilities that, that come along with that, and then how that affects the way that we live a life of devotion, because being a devout Christian is not something that should take away from the responsibilities that God has given to you in your life, but something that will actually help you do them better, to make them sweeter. So if you're a husband and a father, it will make you a better husband and father. If you're a college student, I work on a university campus, it'll make you, a more effective, better student. If you're a bishop, it'll make you a better bishop.
I could use the help with that. Deacon Matthew Newsome is our guest today from the Diocese of Charlotte. And he has written this fantastic book called The Devout Life, A Modern Guide to Practical Holiness with St. Francis de Sales. Deacon Matthew, talk a bit about how the book is set up, as I realize, not just to learn, but also to reflect, right?
Yes, this is a wonderful book that can be read as a daily devotional by an individual person. You can also adapt it very easily for group study. So it's divided up into 5 major sections, and this follows the same format that St. Francis himself used in the original introduction to the Devout Life. It's divided into 5 major sections, and each section consists of several chapters that are really just a few pages each that touch on a certain subject. The chapters conclude with some reflection questions, a passage of scripture that's intended for your meditation. So I really did write this with the goal in mind that someone could have this by their bedside table, right, or on their kitchen table when they have their morning coffee, and they can easily read a chapter in 10 or 15 minutes, spend some time reflecting on the discussion questions, and just grow daily in their devotion to the Lord that way.
That's beautiful. You are a campus minister, right?
I am. I've been working with college students at Western Carolina University for 16 years now.
That is awesome. I'm sure they are just so lucky to have you. How can the teachings of St. Francis de Sales apply to college students as well and the type of young people who you work with?
Yeah, well, of course, there's some unique things that college students are going through. It's a very transitional stage in their life, transitioning from adolescence into adulthood. So they really are grappling with a lot of discernment questions, vocational questions. Where is God calling me in my life? They're dealing with relationship issues. But I find that in my work in the parish and my work with older adults, people are people. So the spiritual realities that they're struggling with and the problems that they have in organizing their prayer life, in learning about the faith, in putting the faith into practice, they're the same for everyone. And that's really, I brought a lot of my years of experience in counseling and working with college students into this book. I think that's one of the things that helped me kind of get what St. Francis de Sales was talking about. I've talked to a lot of people since publishing this that said, "Oh yeah, I started to read an introduction to the Devout Life 5 or 10 years ago, and I got about halfway through it and never finished." Uh, and so I wanted to take the wisdom that was in that book, as I said, into the modern world. I was able to see what St. Francis was getting at because the people that he was instructing 400 years ago had the same spiritual problems that we do now. I just kind of translated it into that modern context. And my work with counseling college students, you'll see that reflected in this book.
Well, Deacon Matthew Newsome, it's been great being with you. Great news, by the way, here in Boston. Cardinal Sean ordained 10 deacons last Saturday with another one to come. What do you think of that?
We need more deacons. Our pastors need all the help they can get.
I love deacons. Every parish I've been in, I've had a deacon. I've always appreciated them standing by my side and being a resource and a sure help. So thank you so much again for being with us. Where can people get a copy of The Devout Life, a modern guide to practical holiness with St. Francis de Sales? Where can they get it?
It's published by Sophia Institute Press, so the best place to get it is sophiainstitute.com. You'll also find it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and wherever good Catholic books are sold, as they say.
Love Charlotte, by the way. You have a great diocese. We'll let you go back to work now. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much. You have a blessed morning.
Okay, God bless. Bye. And Kevin, I know you're tired, but let us know what's going on all around the Catholic world, please.
Hi everyone, I'm Kevin Nelson. Here's a look at what's going on this week in the news. We begin with news from around the world. In Libya, rains from Storm Daniel, which made landfall in Libya on September 10th, led to 2 dams bursting near the city of Derna, unleashing huge amounts of water that wiped out a large section of the city. Other places were also affected. Tamir Ramadan, head of the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies in Libya, told reporters the death toll is likely to be huge. According to some reports, the death toll is now over 5,000, with the number of people reported missing around 10,000. The number of dead is expected to rise sharply. Pope Francis sent his condolences and assured the people of his prayers for the souls of the deceased and all who mourn their loss.
Pope Francis has expressed his concern for the devastating floods in Libya. In a telegram sent to Libya's Apostolic Nuncio, the Pope expressed his profound sadness for what has happened. He assured that he prays for the souls of those who lost their lives, for their families, and for the rescue teams that are actively saving lives. International help has come from neighboring countries such as Spain and Italy, as well as from further countries like Canada.
The flood in Libya comes on the heels of the devastating earthquake in Morocco. Rescuers continue to search through the rubble in the hopes of finding survivors after the powerful earthquake hit the country the night of September 8th, killing more than 2,900 people and causing widespread destruction. The deadly quake's epicenter was reported to be in the High Atlas Mountains. It's about 44.7 miles southwest of historic Marrakesh, a city of about 840,000 people. The villages in these areas were reported to have suffered the worst destruction, with buildings falling and killing many of the villagers while they were asleep. According to media reports, survivors were struggling to find food, water, and shelter. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the preliminary magnitude of the quake was 6.8, lasting several seconds. The quake was the strongest to hit that part of the North African nation in 120 years. Pope Francis expressed his sorrow and deep solidarity with the people of the North African nation, praying for those who perished, healing for the wounded, and consolation for those mourning the loss of their loved ones and homes. He also thanked the rescue workers and those who are working to alleviate the suffering of the people. Looking at news now from the Vatican, Pope Francis welcomed members of the Malankara Orthodox Syrian Church to the Vatican this past week. The India-based church traces its origins to the preaching of St. Thomas the Apostle, also known informally as the Indian Orthodox Church. It's one of the Oriental Orthodox churches that broke with the rest of Christianity in the 5th century in a dispute over explaining the identity of Christ. Between 1971 and 1996, each of the Oriental Orthodox churches and the Vatican signed statements affirming their differences were a matter of terminology and not substance.
Steps continue to be taken towards ecumenical dialogue. Pope Francis met with the primate of the Syro-Malankar Orthodox Church, Basilios Marthelma Matthews III. Based in India, he was elected in 2021, and this was his first visit to Rome. The primate speaks Italian, and the Pope thanked him for his gesture of addressing him in that language, as the Pope acknowledged that he is less proficient in English.
Thank you for your kindness in speaking in Italian.
Io vorrei farlo in inglese.
I would like to speak in English.
But my English is little.
According to tradition, the Christians of this denomination accredit their faith to the preaching of St. Thomas. However, it depended on the Church of the East that did not accept the decisions of the Council of Ephesus in 431. During the Portuguese colonization, they had problems with the Catholics who wanted to impose the Latin Rite. But after the Second Vatican Council, relations began to improve. The first visit of a leader of the Syro-Malankar Orthodox Church to the Vatican was 40 years ago with Pope St. John Paul II. The meeting was very cordial, and the Pope gifted a chalice.
Anche un simbolo. È il simbolo che noi potremmo celebrare insieme.
Sì, speriamo.
The year 2025 marks the 1700th anniversary of the Council of Nicaea, which is accepted by Catholics and the Syro-Malankar Orthodox Church. The Pope told the primate that he hopes to be able to celebrate that anniversary together.
The Pope noted that the Malankara Orthodox Syrian Church sent observers to the Second Vatican Council and will have a fraternal delegate at the upcoming Assembly of the Synod of Bishops. And finally in the news, during the recent convention of the National Conference of Diocesan Vocation Directors in Huntington, New York, Father Chuck Dornquist, vice president of the conference, told OSV News that a decrease in religious belief remains a significant challenge in cultivating vocations to the priesthood, adding that diocesan vocations directors continue to work against a culture of secularism in which the purpose and meaning of one's life for so many of our young people is defined by themselves. Youth and young adults have become the determiner of the meaning of their lives, he said. Seeking their own happiness is their primary goal, and it's what they're formed to seek after. At the same time, he said those labors are not in vain. Thankfully, Father Dornquist said they are also witnessing great fruit. He said there's a spirit of holiness which is coming about in many young people across the country, and they are finding ways to work with them. With the Catholic Church in the U.S. celebrating the National Eucharistic Revival, nurturing devotion to the Eucharist is one of the ways in which vocation directors can encourage young men to discern whether Jesus has called them to the priesthood. According to the 2023 survey of the ordinance to the priesthood by the Center for Applied Research in the Apostolate at Georgetown University, 73% of the survey participants of the class of 2023 cited regular Eucharistic adoration as figuring heavily in their pre-seminary prayer practices. Well, that's all the information we have for you this time. I'm Kevin Nelson. Don't forget you can keep up to date on Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV network.
Thanks so much, Kevin. All right, Bishop, I've got a crazy question for you.
Yes.
You ready?
Yeah.
Would you eat a roasted cricket?
Absolutely, with peanut butter on it.
Me too.
Wouldn't you?
Maybe we can get them for the telethon.
Roasted crickets for everyone.
Let's find out some more about roasted crickets from our friends at Grotto Network.
Some pickle crickets? That sounds yummy, doesn't it? And it tastes like dill pickles. You're all done with your crickets? I think it's really changed the way that I think about how we educate people and provide resources to parents and educators. You know, I want to live in a world where it's really easy for parents to provide their kids with, you know, safe, clean, healthy food that kids want to eat. How's it taste? Like pickles.
There it is. That's a cricket, y'all. Here we go. Yeah, kind of like a corn nut.
Crickets are a really great example. They're really high in protein. They're a complete protein, so they've got a lot of the different amino acids that can't be found in any one plant. They're incredibly efficient. They use a tiny fraction of the water. They use a fraction of the space, and they use a fraction of the feed that it takes to grow and produce that food source. And they produce a fraction of the greenhouse gas emissions. When people have the opportunity to try it in a positive way, you know, that not sensationalized, but, you know, here's a product, it's made of insects, but it's nutritious and it's sustainable, and would you like to try it? People try it, and as soon as they taste it, they go, you know, yeah, this tastes like XYZ. What is the world going to look like in 20 years, 40 years, you know, when Clara is deciding whether or not she's going to have kids? A big part of that is, you know, tied in with climate change, and a big part of that is our food system and the impact it has on the planet. But I think insects really are an inevitable part of our food system, and I think the sooner Americans and the sooner the U.S. food culture is able to really appreciate that, the more benefit we will see, and the more benefit we'll be able to help provide to other people all over the world. Even if we just help change a few minds, we can have a big impact.
All I can say is yuck. I'm sorry.
Before the video, we were both like, yeah, I'd do it. And we watched the video and we were like, yeah, I don't know.
I'm sorry. Give me a Snickers bar any day.
You put chocolate in anything, it tastes good.
That's true.
Hey,
Kevin, how are you? Before you get into all this.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
How you doing, all right?
I'm doing okay.
We feel badly for you.
No, thank you. Appreciate that. No, we're excited. Everybody's gearing up. Lots of smiles on everybody's faces as you walk around the halls. just
what
uplifting.
I'm concerned about is, for like 6 months, I've been asking for a telethon meeting, and we have still not had one.
Well, it's going to be Friday and Saturday.
9 a.m. Eastern time.
Be here. We'll go over everything.
Okay.
It'll be great. Hey, I want to do a quick correction. We played a trailer on Friday's show of Route 60, the biblical highway, and we mentioned the wrong dates on that. So it's actually it's going to be coming to select theaters nationwide September 18th and 19th. That's September 18th and 19th. It features U.S. Ambassador to Israel David Friedman and former U.S. Secretary to State Mike Pompeo. We talked about Route 60.
Now, I have a question about that. Excuse me just one second. Now, I thought Route 60 took you over to like Belmont. But now you're telling me it's from Nazareth to Beersheba?
Yeah, this is a different Route 60. You might want to watch this film, Bishop Reed, to find out a little bit more about Route 60.
Give me the geography, would you?
It's one of the most historic highways, as we said, from like Nazareth to Beersheba. So they go through all the sites, both Jewish and Catholic and Christian sites too, and kind of take you through. So
I bet you in October I'll be on that road.
Oh yeah,
because I'm going to be in the Holy Land with a group of pilgrims.
Wow, yeah. So
From
September.
Massachusetts?
I think I'm going to meet them all next week, but
I have
I
a
think
friend
they
going to the
are.
Holy Land from Massachusetts in October. Maybe you're going with him.
Well, maybe.
Wouldn't that be crazy?
That would be crazy.
It's as crazy
See
as
what bugs
chocolate-covered
they've got.
crickets.
Yeah.
So next Monday and Tuesday, you tell us.
September 17th and September 18th and 19th. September 18th and 19th.
Next Tuesday and
Route 60,
Wednesday.
the Biblical Highway. Check it out. Select theaters.
But watch the telethon first.
Yes, and it's a Fathom event, so you can go to fathom.com as well.
I love Fathom events.
So let's get right into a National
right.
Day calendar. Positive Thinking Day, can't beat that, as a day to promote positivity.
This morning, someone asked me what I'm praying for today, and I said I wanted to keep a positive attitude all day.
Are you kidding
I didn't
me?
even know.
Wow.
I didn't even know.
Wow.
You certainly have it right now.
Wow.
Keep it up.
Positive thinker doesn't ignore negative aspects of their life. Instead, they maintain a hopeful attitude to get through them, through the disruption.
It's me
There
today.
you go.
Claire, today.
National Celiac Disease Awareness Day. As a lot
that's
of people
important.
have this, yes. So avoid gluten due to the immune response that damages the villi in the small intestine. So very important day there. This is an interesting day too. It's Uncle Sam's Day. Uncle Sam, birthday.
What's the historicity of
so
that?
you know Uncle Sam, we want you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so that Uncle Sam. So this day commemorates the man behind the iconic image and the fascinating nickname. And this is interesting. Do I have time for this? Yes, of course I do. This Sam Wilson, a meat packer from New York, born on September 13, 1766. He was actually born in Arlington, or Mononame. It was as it was called back then, and supplied barrels of meat to soldiers during the War of 1812. To identify the meat for shipment, Wilson prominently stamped U.S. on the barrels. It wasn't long before the soldiers dubbed the grub a delivery from Uncle Sam, as such nicknames tend to do. Its popularity spread. So U.S. Sam Wilson.
Cool.
There you go.
Very interesting.
Day of the Programmer. Who doesn't love a programmer? Honors the innovators who continue to change the world one program at a time.
Would that be like Deacon Frank?
This is like they program,
They program.
computers.
Like telethons or something?
I love this description of it. This day is celebrated based on binary code. The number 256 is distinct to programmers, represented by an 8-bit byte. 256 equals 2 to the 8th power. This digit makes the highest power of 2 that is less than 365.
Now you're talking my
When
language.
translated to binary code, the day reads 1 billion. So there you go. National Peanut Day as well.
Oh, yeah. We like
I
peanuts.
didn't, you know
I know
peanuts?
peanuts. Yeah, I know peanuts.
Who are the guys that handle peanuts?
Is there a
Peanut
separate
farmers.
peanut
The guy,
butter
the
day?
hat, the little man.
Or is this all
Mr.
encompassing?
Peanut.
Peanuts it's a bean. It's not a nut.
No.
Yes.
I did not know that.
Don't
I didn't
forget
know
that.
Wow, you learn a lot in the living room.
Yeah.
It's in the ground, grows in the ground. Lots of vitamins and minerals. We're running out of time. National Kids Take Over the Kitchen Day. Let them in the kitchen, cook. Maybe some adult supervision would be required. National Bald is Beautiful Day.
Amen.
Very important day. Especially
imagine
for
why
all
you'd say
those
that.
who are lacking hair follicles. Thank you.
Oh, Kevin, thank you again for all your hard work and along with everybody else here to get ready for Friday's historic start of the Catholic TV Telethon right here in this room at 9 a.m. Please do join us. And I don't know if you saw the Catholic TV Monthly, but Clare's on the cover with our upcoming series, The Renaissance Room. If you don't receive a copy of the Catholic TV Monthly, do drop me a note at the address at the end of the show today. May God bless you today and always, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Have a great day, everyone. God bless.